So we're talking about special donation situations. And I think that, as I'm always preparing for these events, I always try to find, when I find that there might be something that's a little unclear about it, um, I, I try to maybe offer a little bit of clarification. So the actual topic is special donation situations, not donations. And I think that there's an important distinction that we make between important special donation situations versus special giving situations. Okay, I don't know if you hear the difference in that. What we're walking through today are functions that are performed in the donations module that don't necessarily or have nothing to do with the actual recording or posting of the giving. I guess that's the best distinction I can make about it. Okay. So the very first topic it talks about there on page 2 is transferring donations between individuals or people. For whatever reason that may occur. Okay, maybe we have giving posted to one person in a family and it should have belonged or be posted should have been posted to the another person in the same family. Uh, that's one common scenario that we see. The other one is we've got maybe duplicate giver records set up, and so we can't combine the records together, but what we can do is we can transfer the donations from one of the duplicate records into the other one, and that's going to be the very first thing that we're going to look at here. So when we go at our donations home screen, we find this page by going up to givers at the very top left here. Hopefully folks can see that right below the giving distribution. Click on that. The buttons below it change. The fourth one over is called transfer donations. Okay. Notice it kind of has two little bust of two people on it with an arrow pointing between them. And that it is literally that simple. Okay. That is what the purpose of this screen does. All right. So it's literally a split screen from giver on the left to giver on the right. All right. It defaults to the current calendar year, in this case, January, the whole year of 23 as the date range. But folks, you can enter any date range here you want. So if you're unclear about maybe when a person gave, expand that date range. Okay. You, there is no year like accounting that separates one accounting year from the next. Okay. So donations is one continual growing line in time. So you can enter a date range that spans 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, you name it. You just simply have to click apply dates. So the software then searches and finds giving within that period. Okay. You can also transfer from inactive records to inactive records if you wish. Sort by giver number simply changes how the list or the box or search in the box is sorted. Um, and I guess the one thing that I will say about the from giver list is, and this makes really good sense when you think about it, is only givers, people or families or what have you that have giving within the respective date range you enter will appear in the from giver on the left. So anybody, if someone doesn't have giving in the date range you've entered, they're not going to be in the from giver list on the left. Okay. Everybody appears in the to giver on the list on the right because, we want to be able to have the ability to be able to transfer giving to any one of our other giver records. But I can't transfer from something from a person's record who doesn't exist, right? When the giving doesn't exist, why would they ever appear in the list on the left? So just FYI for clarification purposes. Okay, so now we're talking about the situation where, again, we've got giving posted to one family member and it should have gone to the other. So our example there on page 3 talks about dad, Jake Knox, had giving posted that really belonged to his son, Nate. So we're going to come over here to the right. We're going to type in Jake. There's Jake Knox for the respective period. Here are the 3 giving transactions that we posted to him that are, excuse me, by mistake. If they weren't, I can pick and choose. Okay. Then we're going to go over to the to giver on the right, and I'm going to start typing Nate. There's Nate Knox. I can type in the number 2. So if I clear out this and I type in 204, notice it searches by name or number. Either way, the enhanced search everywhere. Here are all of the giving transactions, in this case, 1 for 23 that we already have. We did post correctly to Nate. So let's say that the January 15th and the February 5th transactions were correct and should be posted to Nate, and the one for February 12th is for Jake, his dad. So we're going to just check the two we want to transfer, leaving the one we want to leave on Jake, and we simply click transfer selected. Okay. So it says this will reverse two donation transactions and repost them to Nate Knox. Are you sure? We're going to click yes to that. And notice it says the new transaction numbers were created. And you see the actual giving transactions shift from one side of the screen to the other. Okay. So that we know that that's now done. It's actually shown us right now that it's actually done what we asked it to do right here. Okay. So this is a really common scenario under which this occurs. Okay. Um, if you've got multiple giving transactions that were posted to giver record A that should have belonged to giver record B, this is the quickest and easiest way to fix that problem. Okay. At the bottom of page 3, it talks about the other situation where it occurs, where maybe we've got a duplicate giver situation. All right. So I know now with complete certainty, we're going to close that and just kind of clear it out and relaunch it. So it resets it, that I've got two records, one for Donna Parks and one for Donna Parks. All right. And so how this one occurs is we had her set up as a membership family or individual in the membership module, and then inadvertently whoever entered our donations for a particular day or a couple days maybe even had set up another separate donations giver record, and it wouldn't matter whether there were duplicate records in membership or one members, one donations, two donations. You can transfer between any records. All right, that just happens to be the scenario here. So if I start typing Parks, okay, we see Donna Parks with a D after her name, indicating that's the donations giver record. That's not a record in membership. And then we've got the other one with 29, which is the actual membership record, and that's the one we're transferring to. So they both appear here on the left. Why? Because they both have giving. But we're moving the giving from the donations giver record to the member record. So we choose it. There they all are. We now go over here to the right. And again, I can either type in name or number. There's Donna Parks or Craig or her husband. Either way, doesn't matter which one I post to because the gives with family is clearly in play. So we'll choose Donna. It doesn't matter. And there's all of her other giving transactions which were posted. Okay, and the same thing, we're going to click transfer selected with one exception. Okay, and that's at the top of page 4 where it's talking about these two givers are the same person duplicate records. All right. What happens is if we check this box, okay, what that says, um, well, what it's going to do is it's going to leave the original transactions as they are, and it's going to simply move them from Donna Parks, the donations giver record, over to Donna Parks, the membership record. So essentially, there's no real change to your audit trail. It's just the giver. So what that then allows us to do is, if we've deleted or removed all of the giving that's associated with Donna Parks donations giver, I can then delete that record, because there's no reverse transactions, no audit history that she's tied to. Okay. So we're definitely going to check that box. Okay. And because we're going to be able to see later on, if I didn't check that, it would actually reverse these 4 transactions, and then I'd be stuck with Donna Parks, in perpetuity until I decided to delete the donation history where this occurred, in this case 23, which would be years down the road. Okay. So we're going to check do not click transfer. It'll say, are you sure Donna Parks D and Donna J Parks are the same person? You want to transfer selected giving? Yes. Giver was changed on selected. And again, notice it didn't reverse. It said giver was changed on selected donations. No change to my audit history. And yet all of the giving transactions are there. Okay. Now I can go back to manage givers here in the center, and I can type in Parks. There's Donna Parks D. And right here, I can click delete and remove her. Okay. It'll say, are you sure you want to delete Donna Parks? Okay. If I had not checked that these givers are the same person, and I didn't get all the giving in the correct period, I may not be able to do this. But in this case, because it was all in 23, I can. So I'm going to click yes to that. Okay. If I cannot delete a giver for whatever reason, whether it's a donations giver, like right here, I've got under my manage givers, if you've got a donations giver that you don't want to keep, or, if I were to come in here and choose Jack Albin, say here, he's a donations giver, it says DONA. And if I try to delete him, it's going to say selected giver has pledging and cannot be deleted. Actually, he's got giving too. Okay. So if that's the case, only thing I can do is right here, check this box called inactive. All right. So if I just inactivate him, he won't show up when I go to enter donations unless I ask to see inactive records. All right. And on page 4 there, it talks about how you want to access the membership manual if you're wanting to be able to look and learn more about inactivating membership records. Okay. So if I click on one of these mem records right here, notice that say M, inactive is not available because the inactivation process actually starts or occurs in the membership module. Okay. So, so note there on the bottom of page 4, even though I have an inactive record, that doesn't preclude me from posting giving for them, folks. Okay. Um, you can always post giving to an inactive record. Doesn't matter where they are. And how you do that is when you go to enter donations, all you do is right up here after entering the date, right below it, simply check the box inactive. And if we now click here and I type in Ruth, there's Ruth Miller. See, she's in red. That tells us that she's inactive, but I can still post giving for them. Okay. So I don't need to go in and reactivate a record in order to post giving as long as they reside in my database. Okay. So just be aware, you just have to check inactive in order to find those. Excuse me. All right. So page 5 talks about, and on the top of page 5, it shows you that checkbox there. And you'll find that, folks, all over donations. Yeah, everywhere. Browse donations, reports in donations, enter donations, giving and pledging screens, pledging screens. You have to ask the software to display giving transactions. All right. So page 5 talks about entering a gift from an estate. How we would typically do that is typically the estate is a different entity from the person that was the giver. Okay. And how we would deal with that is we would go into, say, manage givers here, and we would click on add new, the little plus sign up here to add new giver. And I would either choose add membership individual, but we're likely going to recommend that you add one that's called the add individual giver. And when it comes up here, I would simply enter, the estate of, and just simply enter that here, put in the name there and put in their name, Jane Doe. Okay. And you can enter address information by simply clicking the plus sign here. Allows you to enter the address of if that statement is going to be sent, and then click OK or add giver. And it's now added that giver to the estate of Jane Doe. And in order to produce a statement, I just would need to make sure, and the software does it automatically, make sure that the receive statement button box is checked right here to the right. You should see that right here under the name tab. Okay. That's typically the best way that we've found to deal with when you're receiving gifts from the estate. Unless you're wanting to go ahead and just add it to the giver record, who their gift was for, and you can still print a statement for those folks too. But then it also talks about recording the donations at enter donations like you would normally. So when I go into enter donations, the estate of Jane Doe will pop up here just like I will any other giver. Okay. So right here, the estate of Jane Doe, see? So it comes up right there. All right. So I can post giving and send a statement, and then sending a statement too. Okay. Sorry, folks, I'm kind of running short on time here, and I got just a couple more things here we want to talk about. Okay, so with a few minutes left here, let's move on to page 6 and talk about changing a giver number. All right, envelope numbers essentially. Okay, Well, first and foremost, I like to make sure that we explain during this process that envelope numbers are not required. Okay. You do not need to, if your church doesn't distribute envelope numbers to your members and visitors and you don't use that for organizing donations, the software doesn't require it. Giving then gets posted to a name. Okay. But if you do, all right, you can change those numbers. There's no requirement to keep the same ones. So if you go in and you go, oh, well, we want to delete all of the numbers, you can. It doesn't affect the giving. It's posted to people, not to a number. So, but for churches that do use envelope numbers, the history of those numbers sometimes is considered very important. So you decide, the church decides, do we want to know what numbers people had historically or not? And that determines then how you proceed. All right. And that's what it's kind of talking about at the top of page 6. Okay. Do you want to preserve the record of the old numbers or do you not? All right. So let's talk about the one we've got here for Paul Mitchell on the bottom of page 6. He's currently got number 208 currently. First of all, folks, you would want to find out what numbers are available, and how you would do that is you would go up here to reports and export lists and labels, and you would use list giver numbers, and you would print the list of numbers that were available as of the date that you're wanting to change them for. Okay, so I've done that work. I know what number I'm wanting to change for Paul. So right now he has currently number 208. I can come literally right here into the manage givers, and a lot of folks don't know about this, folks. Okay. So right here, I've got Paul Mitchell 208. I can go right over here to the giver number tab. Do you see that to the right? Shows current giver number 208. I can literally just type in the new number right there. Okay. And now notice it's changed it as of today. It's now systematically gone in and entered an end date for the old number 208 and assigned a start date for the new number as of today, if I recall correctly. Okay. So just a lot of folks are not aware that you can edit numbers and change numbers right there at the manage givers window, so long as you know that the number that you're changing it to is available. Sorry, folks, we're going to run a little long today. So another option for changing numbers is under the manage numbers window. And there's even another one that we're not even going to cover today, and that's the en masse function called auto assign. We're going to have another event on that in future. But you go up to givers at the top left, and right here, manage numbers. Okay. So right here under manage numbers, this is my list of current numbers. Notice I've got current checked here in the upper right-hand corner. All right. This is my list numbers that have a start date on or before October 4th of 2023 with no end date. So everybody has a start date with no end date. Okay. So I can simply find here like Jeffrey Alexander, and right up here at the top, I've got the option called add new number. See that button? I've got his name, Jeffrey Alexander, highlighted. Up here at the top, add new number. It opens up and it says, what number do you want to give him? All right. And again, I have to know what number is not currently assigned to somebody else. Otherwise, it'll conflict with it. All right. So I would say, all right, I want to change his number to 400 for whatever reason that is. And I can choose what date I want it to start. The software wants to backdate it to the current year, but I could make it any day I want at any point in 23. I mean, probably in 23. And then simply click OK. And now does its gyrations, and notice Jeffrey Alexander shows now a new start date for his new number of 1/1 of 23 of 400, and it ended the other number 6 with an end date of 12/31 of 22. Okay. Page 8 in the middle talks about how you cannot have the same number assigned to two different people for the same date range. Okay. I cannot have somebody else have 400 while Paul has it in the period starting 1/1 of 23 or later. Okay, so what that may mean is if you want to assign a number to somebody else, you may need to come in here and end a number for somebody. So if we say, okay, where this commonly occurs is with inactive records. So if I now check to show inactive, you see there's Jack Alban, who I'd inactivated. Well, he passed away or something, so we want to free up his number to give somebody else next year, I would simply come in here and go, okay, we're going to enter an end date manually of say 12/31 of 2023, or whatever date I don't want the number to be assigned to him anymore. That number then becomes available as of the date immediately following that end date. Does that make sense? I think it does if you think about donations as a date-driven module. So always remember, the software is going to bark at you if you try to assign a number to somebody else that's already assigned to somebody new. And there's no save here, folks. Notice it's just refreshing the screen, but now notice Jack has an end date of 12/31 of 23. I can make that any date I want, okay? But if I go to somebody like Dylan Bernard, right, and I go, oh, I want to change Jen Arnold's number from 24 to 21, if I go up here and I go 12 and I go, okay, I want to give her 21, it's going to likely bark at me because it's going to go, hey, I got a conflict. Hey, you're attempting to assign number 21, and it already is in use by Dylan Bernard. So pay attention to these messages, folks. What you may have to do is end one number in order to assign that number to somebody different. Okay. It's not going to systematically do that. So see, it's got the red dot, conflicts with another giver number. So I would have to now go in and end Dylan's in order to assign 24 to Jen. Okay. So just, this is the quickest and easiest way in order for us to be able to change one or two or a handful of numbers at any given time. Okay. But the topic about changing numbers we're not going to talk about is the en masse function, which is the auto assign numbers uh, way of being able to change all or many numbers simultaneously. And this time on this event today, there just isn't time to cover that. We'll do a different event on that in future. So, all right, folks, like I said, I apologize. I went a few minutes long today. I am finished with what I'm talking about today.